right now, but we will be streaming live. There, so you can leave your comments up on the live stream. Okay, so let's get straight into it. From the Guardian newspaper, more than 150 still missing after Nigeria train attack. Now, this is 1 week after gunmen attacked the train. Explosives in northwestern Nigeria. The whereabouts of about 168 passengers still unknown. This, according to the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Now, they said of the 362 passengers on board, that 186 persons on the manifest are confirmed to be safe. All right, your thoughts on this?
Okay, so we know some people were taken away. But my question here when I read the story is we've accounted for 186 who they say they've gone on.
By the way, coming out being much higher.
Well, that's what this is what the manifest says. 176, they can't account for them. Nobody has said anything about those who were injured and taken to the hospital. Are they part of this 176 or the 186 that have been confirmed that they got home? That because that would also tell us if there are more people, and then we'll be able to say exactly or to a large extent how many people we think have been kidnapped. From the manifest, have they called all these numbers and they've not been able to get them?
Well, they were saying that they were calling the numbers, yeah.
And they are not picking up. So it could be assumed that maybe they were part of the people that were kidnapped, because we don't know exactly the number of people that were kidnapped. But those are two areas that I think they need to give us more information about. Those who were injured and taken to hospital, those who went to hospital and have been discharged, those who are still in hospital and so on. And so that will give us a clearer picture of how many people are missing. We know that 8 are dead, have been confirmed dead. There could be more, nobody knows. So let the security operatives go do their, along with the NRC officials, put those calls out and find out if there are some other people. Some might have misplaced their phones, and those who actually were on the plane and have been able to get home should try and contact the NRC.
I think that we need to be careful not to inadvertently dehumanize the people who are dead, lost, unaccounted for. Why do I say that? The death of 1,000 people is not relatable, but the death of Michael James, Agnes Mary, Samuel Little. You get where I'm going with this? Yeah. Names. Let's humanize these people. Who are the people who are missing and unaccounted for? What are their names? When we talk about it in the collective, 100 numbers are very abstract. You know, yeah. When you talk about it in the abstract, we become desensitized over time. You know, these things happen every other day. 300 people here, 100 people there, 70 people there, and all of a sudden we're just discussing numbers. These are humans.
By the way, speaking of that, you know, we had the news of the invasion of Zamfara town with lots of people being killed there as well.
I can't relate.
The good thing about this, and that's why I was talking about the manifest. You have a manifest. You have a list of people who were on that train. First and foremost, the 180 people who you say have been confirmed that they've gotten back to their homes. Who are they? The remaining 176, at least we have an idea of the 8 who were killed. The remaining 176, who are they? So their family members and others who know them or who could know where their whereabouts are could actually come out and say, oh, this person is safe, his phone is, or her phone is missing. That's why they've not been able to reach out. And we can now be able to put a specific, we can now be able to identify those who have either been kidnapped or are missing, and then we can know how to go about getting them back from those who kidnapped them. Great point, but Justin, thanks.
Thank you for that, gentlemen. And do send your messages in 0809 440 981. Let's know what you think about this. Now, let's take a look at this article in from the Punch newspaper. What Gumi told bandits we met in thick forests of 8 northern states. This, according to Northern Elders Forum member Yusuf, who has revealed, some pretty interesting information. He appeared on Channel Television's program Politics Today yesterday evening, and there he said that Gumi had told the terrorists that killing, raping, maiming, and burning of private and public assets were unacceptable and served no justification for their grievances. But that is not all that he said. Justin, can you take us through what's the information that was handed out?
It's a very interesting story, because again, it's underlining something that has been in the public space, or information that has been in the public space for a while now, which is that Sheikh Gumi knows who the bandits are, liaises with the bandits. On what frequency, or at what frequency, I don't know how often, but we've seen videos in the past that were shared across official news channels where he was having meetings with these people at locations, at their bases and their locations, which they are describing in this story as thick forest. I don't know that there are any thick forests in the Sahel region of the country, right? But yeah, we've gotten used to calling them thick forests, creating this notion that it's impenetrable. You can't see what's going on there. There are no thick forests. Or if you want to see thick forests, we know where you need to go look. But anyway, back to the story. So once again, Sheikh Gumi and this gentleman who's speaking, who made this statement, Usman Yusuf, who used to be an executive secretary to one of the parastatals. He was dismissed by this administration a couple of years ago, in 2019 to be precise. He was executive secretary of the National Health Insurance Scheme, and he was dismissed by the president. So he and Gumi went on this Indiana Jones type adventure, in his words, our journey to the lion's den, where they sat with these terrorists and told them that what they are doing is not good, told them that the Quran doesn't support this, and all of that and all of that. Well, here's a kicker for me. This seems to me like, and then this gentleman appears on Channels TV to tell us about the story. This appears to me like a PR gambit or gimmick for someone or people who should actually be answering questions from the state authorities as to what level of possible complicity they have in what's going on up there. Because you know their location, you know how to reach them, you know when to reach them, you go and sit with them, break bread, and have these conversations. And I'm asking myself, as what? Are you authorized representatives of the state, or the fact that you're a cleric gives you that leeway to go sit down with people who are enemies of the state? And in this statement, he's telling us, oh, these people do not have anything against the army. They don't have anything against the Nigerian government. Who are you fooling? They are attacking infrastructure. That means they're attacking the state. That means the armed forces should respond. But here we are with this nicely couched story of we went into the lion's den. God be with us all.
Well. There you have it. Let's move on now. We've got more stories for you. The next one that I'm gonna touch on, it comes in from the Vanguard newspaper. As we go to Anambra State, sit at home, the headline reads, why residents deserted streets of Onitsha and Nnewi despite Soludo's directive. Now, according to some residents of both Onitsha and Nnewi, the current worsening disappearance of vehicular and human movements on the streets and roads is not unconnected with the directive by the state government that there should be that there is no more sit-at-home order, and it went on to then order the civil servants to resume work, which they then promptly ignored, because they say that whether or not you think there's no sit-at-home order, it's currently being enforced by people that, well, we don't know. Unknown men, unknown armed people just enforcing the order, and lives being lost in the process. So, Justin, share your thoughts on this.
I mean, we continue on the trajectory of a situation where the state has lost the monopoly of violence. Incidentally, we talked about this last week, but there was a little mix-up, which I'll just quickly clear up. The story from last week was actually about the sit-at-home situation in Enugu State, but when speaking about it, I spoke to it in reference to Governor Soludo in Anambra State. And then here we are today. It's almost as if I should just repeat what I said then. I support what the man is doing, or trying to do, the newly installed governor. I think that Anambra State needs someone like him, but I do not envy him. It's a very tricky situation he's in, and in any case, he should have been prepared for this. Now, sit at home is what? The IPOB, who are the whipping boys, have come out and said, "Oh, we are not the ones who that declared sit at home. In fact, we've ended the sit at home that we started." Enter unknown gunmen, which has become a proper noun. And
It has actually. Now that you put it out there.
which has become a proper noun. So enter exit stage left IPOB, enter stage right unknown gunmen. Hey, nobody should come out. All of you stay at home. Now it's a mixture of several things. There's the fact that we will not deny. I wouldn't deny the fact that there are probably public sympathies with the cause that these groups purportedly represent, which is people feel oppressed, marginalized. Lightning Rod is Nnamdi Kanu's abduction and incarceration. People probably have sympathies with that cause. People might not agree with the how of the IPOBs and whoever else. But here's the thing. Whether they have sympathies or not, I dare say that the reason why people disobeyed what the governor's pronouncement is, just like some people said in the story, is more likely to be about the fear of attacks. Meaning, Mr. Governor, we might want to obey you, but the truth is, when the chips are down, when we're out on the streets and those bullets start flying, you won't be there.
And you have the right security apparatus to
you won't be there. You won't. You can't save us. You do not have the monopoly on violence. These people will come out and kill people and get away with it. It's happened before. So in telling us to not stay at home to come out, the governor probably needs to sit down with the security branch, the security element of state, and figure out a way to enforce security for the people, because otherwise people will not risk it.
Now, Justin, I'd like to, well, we don't have that much time, but I'd like to get your quick take on what you would like to see from the Peace and Reconciliation Committee that he says will be set up to address all the areas of concern that are currently troubling the
That
state.
is a good way to go. Get everybody to the table to talk. I mean, if we have people going into thick forest somewhere to go and talk, discuss with people blowing up state infrastructure, you might as well be able to sit down with people.
By the way, he's offered amnesty to all of our brothers in the forest.
In the thick
In the forest, yes, yes, yes.
So that is always, dialogue is always a good way to go, as long as there's good faith on all sides. Because there's no point coming to the table with you if under your notebook you have a dagger, right? So, but it is a good way to go regardless.
All right, we're going to take a very quick break, but when we get back, more news for you and more news analysis right here on Freshly Pressed. Wow, I have so much hair, I cannot take these headphones off.
Thick forest.
Yes, yes. That your unknown gunman thing. It took me by surprise, people. Then I thought, oh, yeah, actually.
UGM, we not even abbreviate
UGM, that's the abbreviation.
It's not proper now.
Okay, let's see. Let me see. Going over to YouTube. Make sure you send your messages in up on YouTube so that you can feel like you're part of the conversation. I want you to be part of the conversation.
Messages coming.
Aha, there we go. Adironke, you're saying the audio is bad, but looks like we have it might be your phone, but I've put the mic out closer to our analysts. Hopefully that should help. All right, I'll come back in with messages. We are back on air. Studio. More news, more analysis, and more of your thoughts right here on Freshly Pressed. Going over to youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Your comments are coming in up on the live stream. And Joseph Olofinkua says, should it be rocket science to know the names of those that were on the train? But in Nigeria, we celebrate anyhowness. Well, I mean, Wadi has spoken to the fact that there is a manifest. We do have names, maybe not all the names, because we know what happens on the train.
You have 369 names on that manifest, so let's know who they are.
That's 369 people that can be the corporation can follow up on and check in on their safety and whereabouts. All right, and more messages up on WhatsApp 0809 444 981, and hold on. I'm trying to get this message. Oh, Bayo. The buyer's talking about trying to get across to the people that were on the train. Buyer says, "Are you sure those lines are not unlinked from making or receiving calls for failure to link with their NIN?" Whilst Ian says, to the man in the studio analyzing this Sheikh Gumi story, God bless you for your sincerity in analyzing the matter. Sadly, however, the people who need this information are not tuned in. Ian, don't say that. Don't say that. You never know. You never know. As Jerry says, this government is seriously. Hold on. Jerry, I will have to go through that message before I can read it. Whilst Foruche says, Justin, you're really putting a smile on my face this morning with your analysis that's both detailed and comic. And there's so many overwhelming daily challenges in Nigeria that we can but take a little time off to feel good. While Samuel from Lucky says, you're right about you have sympathies to IPOB because they've been reported. IPOP have been reported many times to have called off the sit-at-home orders in the South. Why don't the security agencies patrol on Mondays to assure the people of their safety? I've seen several videos taken on Mondays that show deserted streets even deserted by security agencies. Whilst Justin, you're getting all the love this morning. Whilst on a lighter note, Ruth says, Justin has a soothing voice that makes me forget Nigeria's problems.
Wow.
Yeah. Ken says, please, what is the use of the NIN in the fight against kidnapping when the kidnappers use their victims' phones to ask for the ransom? And the messages do keep coming, but we have more stories for you. So let's take a look at the next one. Excuse me. This one comes in from the Guardian newspaper. Concerns as telecoms operators bar 75 million unlinked SIMs. Now, out of the nation's 198 million phone connections, 125 million SIM cards have been verified and linked to 78 million unique national identity numbers. This, according to a statement by the NCC. Now, the deadline was, which had been postponed 8 times for the linking of SIMs, just a nice smile on your face, of SIM cards to your NINs has, like I said, postponed 8 times, and now the latest deadline was March 31st, which has elapsed, and the NCC came out and said, that's it. That's the cutoff point. Oh, Justin, I know you have certain firmly held ideas about this. I'd love to hear them.
Well, it's mixed feelings for me because, the National Identity Management Project, which is the parent of the NIN, is a project that I happen to have been part of. And we're in a situation where you can buy a Ferrari, right, and put it in your garage, but we all know that a Ferrari does not belong in a garage.
So I would love to see the connection here.
Okay, so the connection is, it's not the tool, it's how you use the tool.
Oh, right.
We have an amazing project, right, the National Identity Management Project. Now, what the government chooses to do with it is a totally different thing, right? All the talk about linking the names to all your identity touch points is well and good. But if you are not going to execute policy leveraging the information that provides you, especially doing so with good faith and the actual best interests of the country, then it's like a Ferrari in a garage. It doesn't really do much for you. You can come out, walk around it, take pictures for the gram, smile, click, but you're not really getting any mileage out of it. You've postponed it. You gave a deadline. Ill advice if you ask me, but because you're asking, let's call it 150 million people, because that's 200 million people thing. You're asking 150 million people, go and do this exercise. You have bottlenecks, very evident bottlenecks about how to practically implement that, and then you go ahead and give a deadline. Of course, you're going to be postponing that deadline over and over again, making you look silly.
I remember when the first deadline came in.
Right? So
that was the height of the
COVID.
One of the heights of the pandemic.
Exactly. You're asking people to go do this.
Wave.
So bottleneck there. It didn't happen. Not going to happen still if you continue on that track. Now we have security situations that this kind of database would have helped. The minister of Alhaji Pantami himself is saying in this article, none of the security agencies who legally have a right to access this information has ever written to us to ask for it. You see the Ferrari in the garage now? we're all out here wondering why people are being kidnapped. They're making calls, and why are you the thing you linked now? Registered SIMs linked to NIN, linked to BVN.
And that was the whole point of
And
this.
that was the whole point. The minister is saying nobody has asked me. He's there, but nobody has asked me. So who is running the circus, right? In the recent past, we've seen different arms of government pointing fingers at you. It was you. Oh, he started it. No, it was me that said. Who's the boss here? Who's coordinating what's going on? So anyway, sticking with the story itself, so they've asked the NCC has asked telcos to yank off any numbers that have still not been linked to their NINs. As that is going on, the telcos are saying, but the back-end infrastructure that allows us to do this seamlessly is still glitchy. So we don't know how to go about this. You're giving us mandates, but the infrastructure to execute those mandates is simply not in place. That's number one. Number two, the telcos are businesses. Yes, there's a security angle to this, but the telcos at the end of their businesses, you want them to pack up and go away. I think what's going to happen is the telcos will, like our people say, use their tongue and count their teeth. You will apply Pareto principle to this thing. If you know that the annual revenue per user on X number of lines is accounting for 80% of your revenue, God help you if you go and yank it off, linked or not. Yeah.
I wish we could spend a little more time on this topic, because there's also that issue of the constant changes in deadlines and how that affects civilians and, apathy when it comes to meeting up with these directives. But we don't have time. We have to move on. Punch news now. Heavy criticism for federal government as 24 states lose foreign investments. So we heard from some state governments and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria on Monday. Coming to take a swipe. The article reads, at the federal government over its failure to address the rising insecurity in the country. Wade, could you give us details of this story?
So 24 states have blamed the federal government for not dealing with insecurity, for them not to be able to attract foreign direct investments. And over the last 10 years, foreign direct investments in Nigeria has just continually dropped. Since 2015, the drop in foreign direct investment in comparison to the 4 years before it has just been phenomenal. Where we were hitting 2 billion in 2012, in 2014, we've not gone beyond 1 point.
Why do just to take an issue, phenomenal is usually used in a positive context. It's okay.
Yeah, so now we're using the positive context.
Can be phenomenally disastrous.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, 24 states could not even attract foreign direct investment last year. 10 states have not been able to attract FDIs in the last 3 years. It just goes to tell us that there is a huge problem from a security perspective. Once there is insecurity in any place, then people are not willing to put money into that country. That's all. So even the economic policies that we have had to go through in the last 6-7 years have not even encouraged people to bring money into Nigeria. And this is what the story is really talking about. I don't want to call the states on air, so if you really want to find out the states that have not attracted foreign direct investment in the last 3 years, you can read through the stories. But
for timing purposes, we actually can't. There are too many states with this.
So when the Manufacturers Association complains about it, it's not just the Manufacturers Association, it's the whole of the country, because FDIs were a huge chunk of foreign currency that came into Nigeria to grow businesses in Nigeria, and then we're not seeing them. And that's the sad state where the last one, to show you how low it has gone, it was 698.7 million in 2021 in comparison to 2.1 billion in 2014.
Looks like disastrous has a new spelling. Let's take a look at this news as we bring it closer to home in Lagos. Lekki Ikoyi tollgate. Sanwo-Olu intervenes, agrees on tolling concessions. This coming in from the Vanguard newspaper. He's agreed, the governor of the state agreed to make some concessions over the planned resumption of tolling to the Lekki Ikoyi Link Bridge and the Lekki Ekpe Expressway areas of the state. Okay, so we've seen all of this coming up in the news because April 1st was the date that they gave for the reopening of the toll plaza, and I can already see the size from your end. I would love to get your take on it. What do you think about this new development? Although we haven't heard quite what concessions are going to be made, but
great point to start with, Shop, but nobody has told us what the concessions are going to be. But like when we first talked about this story, I think it was 3 weeks ago, Abby, just about 4 weeks ago, and we what we continue to put our facts on was the fact that Lagos State was complaining about the revenue that was being
Yes.
lost, and that is still one of the main points that Lagos State is still pointing.
And the
out.
creditors that are still breathing down their
And
necks.
the creditors will
apparently.
break down their neck. So is it necessary for those tolls to come back? Yes, but maybe Justin, maybe what do you have to say?
This is one of those cases where I'll typically say, if you ask me, who I go ask. But I'm an interested party here. So this meeting was with the Residents Association and the Stakeholders Association of Lekki, right? And we've been hearing snippets of what went down in the meeting for a while now. So the article is saying that, okay, so the governor, I don't know that I would have written this headline and used the word agrees to a concession, because essentially in the substance of it, what has happened is the demands that the Stakeholders and Residents Association has made are that the excuses you give for wanting to come back to toll are not tenable. And if you say that it's a purely commercial issue, i.e., there are contractual obligations, well, the people of Lagos and the people of Lekki would like to know the details. It's so opaque, right? Who are we owing? Well, first of all, there's a question of ownership. Is it true that the state government now owns the infrastructure? Yes, that is true.
Yes,
okay. But you're owing people because you bought the assets and liabilities. Yes. Okay, so who are we owing? How much have we paid? How much is left to be paid? In how many years will we pay it off? We need to know all of that. And then we can talk about how this tolling thing is going to work. But mind you, that said or not, or that done or not, lives were lost here. Questions are still being asked about that, right? So there's so much controversy surrounding it. People are stressed out in the country. Is this a good time for you to come back? Is it enough to say, oh, revenue for the state and all of that? At the end of the day, the government is a steward to the people of the state. So you work for us, and if we say that we're not comfortable with this, then you should listen and act accordingly.
All right, and that is that for the show. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to take this final story in from the Punch newspaper. Multi-millionaire gunboat sinks in Lagos, and Nemasa denies responsibility, throwing the responsibility over to the EFCC while the gunboat is still underwater. And that is that. Make sure you catch the analysts up on social media. Where can we find you?
@Himi_, on all social media platforms.
Justin the DJ, wherever and everywhere you go.
Fantastic. And of course, we are at Smooth981 FM. Make sure to join us. And we've been streaming live up on youtube.com/Smooth981 FM Lagos. And we will have that replay up for you in just a bit. Coming up, 8:15, it's time for the Grapevine.
He will never tell you what.
Say what?
He will never show you the contract.